Did that go off faster than normal? Hey everyone, Chu here. We're back with a 25 DOS with a Monk S timer. Let's just jump right into it. This is coming from my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Shu. I've been pushing a lot the last 2 weeks getting my IO up. If you want to come catch some live keys, definitely go check it out over there. So the typical strat now with DOS is not to pull this first pack that's right down the stairs, and instead you jump down either left or right and you base your path off of that. With Boomy and other classes, it's pretty easy to just make that jump with a wild charge, or like a monk can flying serpent kick or roll, mage can slow fall, just depends on what class you're playing. Others can invis down or shroud like my group did. So this first pull, I actually get off a pretty good ramp, start my starfall nice and early, and I'm just doing starfires over and over, just dumping, making sure I'm not sitting in the frontal, get my starfall up as fast as possible, hitting my Fury of a Loon, getting a interrupts down, and I probably should dump my AP at the end of my ramp, but I was still trying to get a little bit of AoE damage because there was a couple cultists up and Arcaleth and the Shadow Core guy, so I was just trying to keep the AoE consistent when I probably could have just dumped into the Shadow Core guy, which might have been the play, but overall it was a good ramp. Very good first pull for us. While we're here, we can just talk about this route a little quick. I'm not the biggest fan of this route that we're about to do, but I'm going to talk about making the most out of a route that we're not fans of. A lot of Boomy-centric routes would go Arden Wield first, immediately after the first pull plus the Enraged Spirit, especially on Fortified. Zagadon power is nice, but it's not necessary for dealer Zyxa, and going Arden Wield first really fast also lines up with Boomy CD's best. If you're playing with 3-minute classes, kind of really have to play around them. With this route we're doing right now, we backtrack around the circle a lot, which costs us a lot of time throughout the dungeon. So these Enraged Spirits, you'll notice that they're not a problem for our group because AMZ and things like Spirit Link Totem are busted. Like AMZ is just so good, even after the nerfs. So after the Enraged Spirit, we're going into this pack. We have 46 AP. We unfortunately only have a solar eclipse coming up, so I'm just trying to get into that ASAP, and then I'm just gonna put out all my dots that I can. I'm gonna get a starfall up so I can move while casting, and then just dot as much as I can, and just get my casts going, get my soothe out, and just maintain the out of CD AoE that we try to do as a Boomy. This is also why I'm not a fan of doing Mechagon first as a Boomkin, because your ramp is up right now, and using it on this pack is just not the business, and the next pull is a Tormentor, which is also not a good one to pump your cooldowns on, so you're just going to be sitting holding your cooldowns for quite a while. Next pull is Soggy, Sagadon D's Nuts. The reason why I hold here is because on Fortified, the next following pack is really dangerous. It's not fun. You want your cooldowns for that pack. So a lot of groups don't know, but drills are like the biggest waste of time ever, and you can literally just run by them. So our rogue just distracts it, but you don't even need distract. You can just run by it. If you're a Boomy, you want to Ursul's that explosion stuff every time in the corner, and this is a pack you really want to ramp for because it hurts. The spinny guys hurt, the casts hurt, Arf hurts, it all hurts. And you're really just praying that you don't get stunned during your ramp, which unfortunately we get 2 stuns during our ramp. So we miss out on some casts, but we still do decent damage. It's better than not having our CDs because this pack would just be living way too much, and we got a 3rd stun even, so we can't even get into an eclipse to help kill the pack. It was unfortunate. The most annoying part about this is this little corner on Spiteful week, because you really just have to kill these shades before they run you down. There's nowhere to run with that drill right there. So a lot of groups invis to the oils and then kill the oils, but what we actually do is we invis past the oils. So in order to do this, what you want to do is have somebody trigger the RP of the oils, which you'll see me do right here. I jump across, and then I just trigger the RP. You see, I see the oils spawn in, and then I run back to roar for my group, and I'm checking my bags if I have invis potion up, and I don't. That's because Druid stealth is not that strong. Even during Shroud, it's not that strong. So I have to use my belt right here. I use my belt to get past the oils. You see our shaman just barely, his invis ran out at 1 second. so he didn't manage to get by in time. But it's a free res. Mana Storms, a very straightforward boss. It's just don't kill either one because they give you things to stun the other boss. You see laser, just get the laser in between the boss and make it stun the boss. You always want to be soaking a beam. You see I'm checking our lust timer because I want to pop, but I also want to pop with lust. With laser, not only does the zigzag do damage, the endpoints have like a circle radius around them that also does damage. And you see here, I like run away and I even go bare because I'm afraid that I'm in the radius of that circle. Yeah, it can be really dangerous. Stay away from the lasers as much as you can. The safer the better. So I get the circle here. I choose not to bark or bear just because I'm at max HP. Probably should have bared. Bearing is always safe. Lust is coming up. We're gonna lust, and I'm gonna pop CDs. Ideally, if you're in your CDs, you want to soak a beam because then you do more damage, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. I'm ramping, I'm planting. That's the phrase right there, buds. If you're ramping, you're planting. Just make the other laser move for you, because otherwise we can't get to 33 stacks and literally delete the boss. The boss just melted. Still a bad habit of mine is not treesing in my ramp. Really gotta fix that. I know I said it in the Halls of Atonement video. That's about it. Kill the Mana Storms. We're leaving. We're our group out. We skipped the drill again. And right here, our group's indecisive about whether we're going to Hakar or killing the mask and then going to Hakar. And this costs us about 20-25 seconds of just people being indecisive. And that's honestly one of the biggest time wastes in a dungeon is people just being indecisive and not going pull to pull to pull to pull to pull. When you're in a dungeon, sometimes the biggest time loss is actually the time in between pulls and the time in between being in combat versus the time being in combat. But right here, you'll see we just have an AMZ up and it's busted. And Ascendance is really good too because he pops Ascendance right here. But I feel very safe on these ragings. We kill the spirit. You can also, fun fact, in Hakar Wing, you can skip these mobs even without sapping them. You just run on the left side, just hug the left and run. And you can skip them and you can go right into this pack. What I like to do in other groups is you pull this pack plus the next pack and you earn that. So it's like earning 2 packs in one. And I really prefer that, especially if you have boomy cooldowns. But we didn't this time, but it's whatever. Still cooldown this. We get to do some damage with our cooldowns. Not the end of the world. I'm not hitting my starfall as often as I'd like to be here, which is a mistake. Or treesing. I should have treesed in my ramp there. Casting those moonfires while in lunar eclipse was definitely a mistake. I should have only casted starfire. And instead of just killing these 2 Deathwalkers, we really should have just chained these into the next pack. I think that's a pretty underrated technique that tanks should learn is good times to chain and bad times to chain. A good time to chain is right there when you have 2 really slow melee mobs that you can outrange and just kite in when they're at like 5%. That won't really kill you. And see, this pack literally just got deleted. We could have easily pulled the last pack with that and earned and killed all of that in no time. We're in solar eclipse, so we do our dots, which is good. Get into lunar, starfall immediately, and we're just starfiring. We clean up the pack and now we're at Hakar. So this is some voodoo shit that our tank does, and I don't really know how to do it. I don't know if it's a DK only thing, but it's something. But he told us to only single target, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm just single targeting and not touching the ads, and the ads get stuck. I don't know what he does, but the ads get stuck up there. Does he grip it, or what does he do? I'm not sure, but it gets stuck, and then it just ends up dying. So typically on higher keystone levels, the strat for this boss is to just hold your cooldowns until you're at around 40%, and then that's when you lust and pop everything. That's both a fortified and tyrannical strategy. It's just to help push that last end of the boss, because the start of the boss really isn't that challenging. It's the end of the boss that gets really spicy. So you see here, I was even afraid to like cast my AoE dots because my tank said don't cast any AoE, so I was afraid to touch them, but it was probably fine, to be honest. We lust, and it's off to the races. Game time. It's ramp time. I'm maxed out on my AP and I really should have spent it sooner. I think we could have lusted when the barrier came up, and I could have started my ramp at that time because I still have my ramp and the boss is dead. We're zooming back after Hakar. A lot of routes opt to still skip this pack, but we're doing it anyway. And now we're going back to the top, and you see I draw like our route that we've done. We've basically done 2/3 of the circle going all the way down, and then now we're about to do another 3/4 of the circle going all the way back. So we're pretty much going to run almost 2 full circles. One thing I've been proud of that I've been emphasizing is the second that I get into solar eclipses, getting my dots out and just focusing on my rotation outside of cooldowns. I find it to be very situational and tricky, so it's something I've been working on a lot. Ending this pull around 13 to 14k is a very feels good, man. Now we're up here, gonna do an urn pull with speaker. I honestly feel like we could have pulled Oros into this too, especially with cooldowns. Star firing everything, and it's just a big ol' rampy ramp. I'm kind of cringe because I don't refresh my starfall. I probably should have just dumped AP at the very last bit again, but I've been going back and forth experimenting in keys about like what's the break point of, do I just keep dumping starfires versus AP spending like with star surges, and I'm not sure which is best yet, like what's the break off point for the end of a ramp, but I'll figure it out. So not having them right now is pretty sad. Also, hidden tech, Inky Black Potion in Ardenweald is like the best thing ever. It just makes everything so easy on your eyes, and you can just see the swirlies a lot easier, especially when you're in the water. Here I actually do like the world's worst lunar eclipse. I feel so bad about it. I got barely any starfires in, but you know what happens. Sometimes you just mess up a little bit. And this is really a situation where you can be starfiring in solar eclipse as well, but it just feels bad not having that bonus damage from lunar eclipse. Now we have our ramp for Varuth, but we're holding because the next pull will be Giga. In Ardenweald, you are not ramping tormentors no matter what anybody tells you. You're a boomie. Ardenweald is your home. You're a druid. I went double champs brand. There is a great spreadsheet by Terrasant, one of the best boomies in the world, and he made a spreadsheet for every power you should take for every affix combo, and I will link that in the description if you guys want. He is an awesome boomie, and he streams a lot, so check him out. So here's an urn pull, just time to earn it up and go ham. Absolute ham with big CDs. Trees out of urn is very standard. You just want to make sure you trees right when the mobs are not stunned anymore. Your tanks will love you. I didn't do as much damage as I would like. I think I was just slow on my casts. Another great thing about Ardenweald that tanks don't do enough is using this whole room to kite. Like, especially if you have a frost mage or a boomie, just use the whole room. You literally don't have to get attacked if you're scared. You can run all the way up back to the gauntlet and then just run all the way back down. Next pull is all the little invis boys plus some extra stuff. It's a fun pull. If I wanted to ramp, this is where I should have done it. Maybe that pull gets rinsed. Here is where I make the biggest error of the dungeon. Normally dealer isn't the second to last boss you do. So it's okay to ramp right before it and just have ramp up at some point in the middle of dealer's Iexa fight. But for muehzala on high keystone levels, you really want to get 2 ramps into muehzala. That's assuming you're doing a 2-phase strategy, which most groups do on really high keystones for both fort and tyrannical. So me ramping right here is a big mistake. Because I do this, I don't have it at the start of dealer, which means I won't have it at the start of muehzala, but we'll come to that when we get to it. So dealer tips, just always bark things pretty much. Anytime you're about to get the lightning, just bark. If your group has 3 melee, then that's all you need, is just rotate the lightning around to the 3 melee. Ideally, that's all you need as long as you have good management with it. It just goes to the closest person and you just rotate defensives. Another thing about this boss is that flap will save you. Use flap. It'll prevent fall damage. So yeah, I ramp at the end of this boss, and honestly I probably should have just saved it because I'm gonna need 2 for muehzala, but I'm only gonna get 1, spoiler alert. So I've never done muehzala with Oros right there, so I was really afraid of sunfiring and having it spread to Oros and wiping the group, so I just didn't sunfire at all. And I didn't even starfire either, because I know his hitbox is so huge. Like I know for Fire Mage, Phoenix Flames will spread to Oros when he's right there. which is scary. So I'm literally doing negative damage, which instead I should be doing giga damage because I should have ramp right here. So for two-phase strategy, it's not a lot of groups do it, but it's really simple. You just have half your group go to one totem, half your group go to the other totem, you kill 2 totems, and then you go back, you have another one of these phases, and then you kill the 2 other totems. And when you do two-phase, you don't really need to click CDs as a boomkin. Maybe just trees and just cast star surges and stuff, and you'll be fine. Because you use your ramps to delete the boss, because muehzala still has a lot of HP on high keys. So this is a good time to explain how muehzala works and how his platforms work and how you can force muehzala to spawn at certain locations. If you look at the map of DOS, we were on the right side. We chose to go to the front right and the back right portals. So that means that we would spawn then at the 12 o'clock position, the top of the room. That's because muehzala will always go to the platform in between where there's the most amount of players on the platforms in the intermission phase. So because there's a 2 phase, there's only 2 platforms where players can be. So he'll be in between those 2 platforms. We're at 1 minute left and the boss needs 2%. That's pretty tight. And we're at 4 minutes into the boss and I've only ramped once. That is really bad. That is my fault, 100%. Should have just planned my cooldowns a little bit better. But you know what? Our boy Ian Hazakostas really wanted us to have our IO in this key. Because we fucking got it. The sweatiest +1 keystone with +2 IO of my life. Not even close, right? Plenty of time. So yeah, those are some DOS tips, some of my thoughts on routing, on cooldown management, just some little tips and tricks on some of the packs. If you like that, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Be sure to check out my Twitch, been streaming a lot more lately, twitch.tv/shu, my Twitter, twitter.com/shuwow. And yeah, thank you all for the support. Plenty more dungeon analyses coming up soon. I've been playing my monk a lot lately. I've been playing my mage lately, been doing like 23s and trying to get into 24s on those too. Yeah, thank you all.